Good morning, everyone. Here we are at week 4 in Biology 120. We are halfway through our course. So let's take a look at what is going on. Last week, you learned about classification of organisms and mainly prokaryotic versus eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic being bacterial cells, eukaryotic everything else. So plants, animals, fungi, and protists are all classified as eukaryotic cells. We looked at cell structures and how many there are in eukaryotic cells, including the nucleus, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, chloroplast, etc., etc. And you discussed the use of antibiotics to treat bacterial infections and also antibiotic resistance. And I hope that you watched that Harvard study video where E. coli became resistant to 1,000 times the normal dose of antibiotic in only 11 days. I hope you watched that because it is actually shocking at how fast bacteria can mutate in order to become antibiotic resistant. Okay, so this week is all about cellular respiration, also called aerobic respiration, and metabolism. So we're going to get into some of that in just a minute. Read your chapters 6, 7, and 8. Now listen, if you don't want to sit down and read them, at least skim through them so you know where all the sections are and read the overviews of each chapter so you know what is going on, and then you can go back and look at specific areas that you need to. I will also post a video on aerobic and anaerobic respiration and fermentation, so please watch that. You're going to need that, I promise. Read the Module 4 introduction and watch the video on the carbonated ocean. So one of the effects of carbon dioxide being released in excessive amounts into the atmosphere through the burning of fossil fuels, which you will see as a theme through this course, is the reflection of heat back onto the surface of the planet. But another effect that happens is that some of that carbon dioxide moves into the water, and especially in the ocean, and that is dropping the pH of all types of bodies of water across the world. And of course, that leads to detrimental effects because organisms want a nice balanced pH around 7. We want this in our bodies. We want this out in the environment. Organisms that live in water want a nice neutral pH, not a pH of around 5, which is too acidic. So anyway, watch that video on the carbonated ocean. So you've got 3 different things due this week. This is a very intensive week for us. You got discussion board postings. So I'm going to help you with all these, okay? Discussion board postings. Your first question is, are photosynthesis and cellular respiration processes opposite? Do they do opposite things? Or are they complementary? Or both? Okay, if anybody ever asks you a question like this, the answer is always going to be both. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said that. Opposite or complementary, they would have stopped right there if they wanted you to choose, or both. So the answer has to be both. So look at the beginning molecules and the ending molecules and what's the purpose of these different processes. So what's the purpose of photosynthesis? These organisms that do photosynthesis do this in order to make glucose. That's a sugar. That's their food. So these are the autotrophs, which make their own food. Auto means self, troph means feeder. So these are organisms that feed themselves glucose by what? Using sunlight energy and carbon dioxide to glue those CO2 molecules together along with some water to make glucose. Well, what's cellular respiration? Breaking down glucose and other foods to produce ATP molecules. And ATP molecules run all the energy requiring processes or chemical reactions in the cells by way of enzymes. Okay, so look those up. See what the equations look like. See if they're opposite reactions, complementary. And one other thing that you need to realize is the organisms that do photosynthesis also do cellular respiration. So they can't just be opposite reactions. That wouldn't make sense. Why would a tree do this? Why would a tree make glucose and then break it down and all in the same process? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Are autotrophs the foundation of all ecosystems? So that's something for you to consider. Those self-feeders, the ones that do photosynthesis. Let's take a look at some food webs or some food chains. Take a look at that. And then in your response post, you're going to be talking about carbon dioxide release and its consequences, and can plants help to relieve some of that excessive carbon dioxide release into the atmosphere. There are several movements around the planet to plant more trees. So you can guess that some people do believe this. So please take a look at that. Okay, you also have a journal entry this week. And the journal entry is asking you about aerobic versus anaerobic respiration. This is not oxidative versus substrate level phosphorylation. No. It's aerobic versus anaerobic respiration. Watch my video. This will absolutely help you. Because what's the difference? Aerobic means with oxygen. Anaerobic means without. And this includes fermentation, which is a very short pathway that produces stuff like alcohol and gases, and also anaerobic respiration. There are organisms on this planet that survive without oxygen, as I pointed out in some of your discussion posts when you told me factor X should be oxygen. Okay, how ancient is glycolysis? Glycolysis, if you look at the word, glyco means sugar, lysis means to break or to break apart. So glycolysis is basically taking a glucose molecule and breaking it in half to make 2 pyruvates. So the question is, how ancient is glycolysis? How do we know that it was the first cellular respiration chemical pathway that there was? And you're also going to discuss ethanol used as a biofuel. Then you have milestone 2 due for your final project. And this is the body of your project, because this is making connections between the biology that you have learned about or are learning about and your final project topic. So let's take a look at some of these sections. Level of organization. So what level of organization does your topic impact? So for example, if you chose genetically modified organisms, obviously on the organismal level, GMOs attack or are influenced by this particular level, but also DNA. So down on the genetic level, that's where this topic occurs. Does it also affect species? It absolutely does. And then does it also affect ecosystems? It sure does. If you're talking about global warming and climate change, what level of organization does that impact? Well, the biosphere, number 1. That's all living organisms found anywhere on the planet. Does it affect populations? Sure does. Ecosystems? Yes. Species? Yes. Okay, so you get the drift. Okay, analysis. You're going to analyze 3 biological concepts or processes that have to do with your topic. So, say you're talking about GMOs. So what kind of concept, biological concept, affects genetically modified organisms? Well, how about reproduction? Because once you get one of the GMOs, is it able to reproduce? Is it out there in the environment where it could reproduce with some other organisms? Let's talk about eutrophication, which is a process where you have algal blooms, etc., in bodies of water. Photosynthesis is one of the biological concepts here. Okay, so you're going to analyze 3 biological concepts or processes that have to do with your topic. So you need to tell me, what is reproduction? What is cellular respiration? What is photosynthesis? What is a food web? Whatever your concepts are, you have to describe what they are in section B, the analysis section. In section C, you're going to relate these topics to your topic. You're going to relate photosynthesis to eutrophication. You're going to analyze how reproduction is related to a GMO. Okay? Section C is probably one of the most important sections in the whole final project. Characteristics of life. Select one of these concepts or processes and analyze how the characteristics of life are affected by this. Reproduction, you know that's actually one of the 8 characteristics of life. So anyway, that's pretty easy. Impact on health. So select one of these concepts that you analyzed and that you related to your topic and describe its impact on human and or environmental health. Okay? And give specific examples of this. So this is all the biology and how the biology is connected to your particular topic. You can see how important this must be. All right, and then finally, you know, you've got a lot of things going on. You've got 3 assignments due this week, plus you've got more if you're taking the lab. This is a busy week for lab too. If you need anything, if you have any questions, please, I'm here for you. m.sigmon@snhu.edu. You can also post questions in the general discussion area, not in our discussion board for this week. I mean, you can, but it's better to put it in the general discussion board. Or email me. I'm here for you. I will answer you as quickly as I can. And with that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week. Just let me know if you need anything.